All right, so we're going to take a look at text structure. So here's a few questions that you should be able to answer by the end of this video, and perhaps you can already answer them. But we want to be familiar with the difference between a footnote and an endnote. Things like narrative, persuasive, and procedural text. We'll also have cause and effect and problem solution, so we want to be familiar with all of those. And another good question, can you differentiate table of contents and an index? These are all things you've most likely heard in your life. If we've forgotten, well, we'll just go over them. All right, so with the types of text, so we have 5 to look at here. So we start with a narrative. So a narrative text will both tell a story and make a point. There isn't going to be any type of text on this exam where it just tells a story for no reason, right? So that's always going to be incorrect. But anyway, narrative tells a story and makes a point. Persuasive, convince reader of something and for a specific reason. Okay, so like a narrative usually is more entertaining, right? Where persuasive is really just trying to stick to making a point. It's not particularly entertaining unless you're really passionate, excuse me, about the subject they're talking about. With cause and effect and persuasive are usually the ones that people get mixed up if they get the question wrong on types of text. So again, cause and effect very similar to persuasive. Cause and effect has already happened, so that could be like talking about like a war that had already happened, like it's about World War II or a previous election, something like that. Where persuasive is just trying to convince you of something. So that's the cause and effect. With procedural text, it's really talking about specifically how to do something, which usually has specific steps, like a recipe is the most common one, or perhaps steps in reproducing a scientific experiment. That could be another one. And then finally, a problem solution is probably the most obvious. It'll just describe a problem and show how the problem was solved. All right, so that's all our types of text. In regards to footnote and endnote, the footnotes will just show up at the bottom of a page, while endnotes will tend to show up either at the end of a chapter or an article or at the end of the whole book. It's really all you got to know there with footnote and endnote. And then a few just sort of miscellaneous ones that will show up. Table of contents and index lots of times show up in a question, being able to differentiate those two. So a table of contents is chapters or parts of a book, and they show up at the beginning of a book, while an index is a list of important words or concepts, and that will show up at the end of a book. Also looking out here, sidebars. So sidebars will break out aspects of a story that merit special attention. And then also we have subheading and heading. Okay, so the heading is the title or topic of a document, chapter, etc. While a subheading is also, it's a type of heading, but a subheading is a heading under which each of the main divisions of a subject may be subdivided. And so those are those 5. And once we're through with that, and we're good to go. And we get back into these questions, right? So at this point, it's really best just to pause the video and see if you can answer these. But we went through all this stuff here. It's pretty brief, right? Real simple answers. And if you know this, then you're good to go on this section of the exam.